Yara, we can't find your sister anywhere. What do you mean you can't find her? The reception just started. Her car's gone, and there's a note taped to the twins' stroller. A note? What does it say? It says, "They're yours now. I can't do this anymore." My sister left her twins at my wedding reception with a note saying, "They're mine. Now hi, I'm Yara. Today I'm going to tell you my story. But before I continue, please like, share, and subscribe to hear more stories like this." Let me start by saying my wedding day was supposed to be perfect. I'd been planning it for a year and a half with my fiancé, now husband Kieran. We'd saved for ages, booked this beautiful venue overlooking a lake, invited 150 guests. Everything was carefully orchestrated down to the last detail. My sister, Bryn, was supposed to be my maid of honor. We'd always been close growing up, or at least I thought we were. She was 3 years older than me, and for most of our lives, she was the responsible one, the dependable big sister who looked out for me. That all changed about 4 years ago, when she got involved with this guy named Cade. He was bad news from the start, unemployed, constantly borrowing money, had this entitled attitude like the world owed him something. My parents didn't like him, I didn't like him. But Bryn was head over heels. They got married quickly, within 6 months of meeting. A year later, she had twins, a boy and a girl named Jasper and Luna. They were adorable babies, but I could see the strain immediately. Cade didn't help with anything. He'd sit on the couch playing video games while Bryn juggled 2 crying infants, and when she asked for help, he'd snap at her about how he needed to decompress. I tried to be supportive. I'd babysit when I could, bring over groceries, listen when Bryn needed to vent. But she started pulling away from the family. Cade didn't like us, said we were judgmental and interfering. Family dinners became rare, then stopped completely. By the time the twins were 2 years old, Bryn looked exhausted all the time. Dark circles under her eyes, hair always in a messy bun, wearing the same stained sweatpants every time I saw her. Cade had left by then, just packed his stuff one day and moved in with some woman he met online. Bryn was alone with 2 toddlers and barely scraping by on her waitressing income. I invited her to be my maid of honor because I wanted to include her, wanted her to feel like she was still part of my life despite everything. She seemed excited at first. "I'd love to, Yara. Thank you for thinking of me." But as the wedding approached, things got weird. She'd miss dress fittings, wouldn't respond to group texts with the other bridesmaids, and when she did show up to wedding-related events, she seemed distracted and resentful. 3 months before the wedding, she called me crying. "I don't know if I can do this anymore." "Do what? Be in the wedding?" "Any of it. The kids, the bills, everything. I'm drowning, Yara." "What can I do to help?" "I don't know. I see you planning this perfect wedding, starting this perfect life with Kieran, and I'm stuck in this nightmare that never ends." I tried to be understanding. "Bryn, being a single mom is incredibly hard, but you're doing great. The twins are healthy and happy." "You don't get it," she interrupted. "You have no idea what it's like." The conversation ended awkwardly. I told Kieran about it that night, and he suggested maybe Bryn was dealing with depression and needed professional help. I agreed, but when I gently brought it up to her, she got defensive and angry. The week before the wedding, Bryn asked if she could bring the twins to the reception. My wedding was adults only. We'd made that clear on the invitations. But I made an exception for her because I knew she was struggling to find childcare. "Of course you can bring them," I said. "They're family. Just let me know if you need help arranging anything." "Thanks, Yara. You're the best." The wedding day arrived, and everything was beautiful. The ceremony went perfectly. Kieran and I wrote our own vows, my dad cried. Everyone applauded. Bryn stood beside me as maid of honor, holding my bouquet, but I noticed she seemed distant, not smiling much, not making eye contact. After the ceremony, we took photos for about an hour, while guests headed to the reception venue. When we finally arrived at the reception, the party was already in full swing. Music playing, people dancing, the energy was incredible. I was making rounds greeting guests when my cousin Nadia rushed up to me looking panicked. "Yara, we can't find your sister anywhere." "What do you mean you can't find her? The reception just started." "Her car's gone, and there's a note taped to the twins' stroller." "A note? What does it say?" "It says, They're yours now. I can't do this anymore. My entire body went cold. I followed Nadia to where the twins were. Jasper and Luna were strapped in their double stroller near the gift table, completely unaware of what was happening. Luna was sleeping, and Jasper was playing with a toy truck. There was indeed a note taped to the stroller handle, written on the back of a reception program in Bryn's handwriting. They're yours now. I can't do this anymore. You always wanted to be the perfect one. Now you can be the perfect mother too. Don't look for me. I couldn't breathe. Kieran appeared at my side, read the note, and immediately started making phone calls. He called Bryn, straight to voicemail. Called her apartment, no answer. Called our parents who were at the reception. They were as shocked as we were. My mother rushed over, read the note, and burst into tears. She wouldn't just abandon her children. But she did. She absolutely did. The reception continued around us, but I was in a fog. Our wedding coordinator, a woman named Priya, tried to keep things on schedule. Should we do the first dance? Cut the cake? I looked at Kieran helplessly. Our wedding day, the day we'd planned for so long, was completely derailed. We had 2 toddlers who didn't understand what was happening, guests staring and whispering, and my sister had vanished. Kieran made the decision. We finished the reception for the guests who came to celebrate with us, then we figure this out. So that's what we did. We danced, cut the cake, gave our speeches, all while my mind was spinning with what had just happened. My parents took the twins into a side room to keep them comfortable and away from the chaos. Several guests approached me throughout the night. Is everything okay with your sister? Where did Bryn go? Are the twins all right? I gave vague answers, tried to smile, tried to pretend my sister hadn't just abandoned her children at my wedding reception. It was surreal and horrible. The reception ended around midnight. Kieran and I were supposed to leave for our honeymoon in the morning, a 2-week trip to Greece we'd been planning for months. Instead, we spent our wedding night at my parents' house, dealing with 2 confused toddlers who kept asking for their mommy. Where Mama? Jasper kept saying. Want Mama? Mama had to go away for a little bit, my mother said, her voice breaking. But you're going to stay with Grandma and Grandpa, okay? We filed a missing persons report that night. The police took the note as evidence and said they'd try to locate Bryn, but since she left voluntarily and there was no indication of foul play, it wasn't a high priority. Kieran and I canceled our honeymoon. There was no way we could leave the country with this situation unresolved. The deposits were non-refundable, $10,000 down the drain. But it didn't matter. Days passed with no word from Bryn. Her phone went straight to voicemail. Her apartment was empty. Landlord said she'd paid through the end of the month, but cleared out all her belongings. Her bank account showed one large withdrawal the day before the wedding. Then nothing. She'd planned this. Meticulously planned to abandon her children at my wedding. My parents immediately took temporary custody of Jasper and Luna. They were retired and had the space, but they were in their late 60s and not prepared for the physical demands of 2 energetic 3-year-olds. We'll do whatever we have to do, my dad said firmly. They're our grandchildren, but Yara, we need to talk about long-term plans. That conversation happened 2 weeks after the wedding. My parents, Kieran, and I sat down with a family lawyer named Octavia to discuss options. If your sister doesn't return and doesn't contest it, your parents can pursue permanent guardianship or adoption, Octavia explained. However, given their age and the children's long-term needs, the court might look favorably on a younger guardian if one were available. Everyone looked at me. No, I said immediately. I just got married. Kieran and I want to have our own kids eventually, but not now, and definitely not like this. Kieran squeezed my hand. Whatever you decide, I support you. But Octavia's right. We need to think about what's best for Jasper and Luna. What's best for them is their mother coming back, I said, fighting tears. This is insane. You don't just abandon your children. But weeks turned into months, and Bryn didn't come back. Didn't call, didn't text, didn't send so much as an email. She'd completely vanished. The twins stayed with my parents, but I could see the toll it was taking. My mom was exhausted all the time. My dad developed back problems from lifting the kids. They loved Jasper and Luna fiercely, but they were struggling. I helped as much as I could. Kieran and I would take the twins on weekends to give my parents a break. We'd do bedtime routines, deal with tantrums, read endless bedtime stories. And despite my anger at Bryn, I found myself getting attached to them. Jasper had this infectious laugh and loved building things with blocks. Luna was quiet and thoughtful, always wanting to be read to. They were good kids dealing with an impossible situation. 4 months after the wedding, we finally heard from Bryn. She sent an email, not to me, not to our parents, but to the family lawyer. The email was cold and legal. She was voluntarily terminating her parental rights. She was somewhere starting over and wouldn't disclose her location. She didn't want contact with the children or the family. She'd sign whatever paperwork was necessary. My mother sobbed when we told her. How could she do this? How could she just throw her children away? I was beyond anger at that point. I was disgusted. Whatever Bryn was dealing with, depression, burnout, whatever, there were so many other options besides abandonment. Therapy, medication, family support, temporary respite care. She chose the nuclear option instead. The court processed her termination of parental rights rapidly since she was cooperating. Cade, the biological father, was contacted but wanted nothing to do with the kids. He signed away his rights too without hesitation. That left Jasper and Luna as legal orphans in need of permanent guardians. Octavia laid out the reality. Your parents can maintain guardianship, but they've expressed concerns about their ability to do so long-term. The state could place the children in foster care, though they'd try to keep them together, or a family member could petition for guardianship or adoption. Kieran and I had been married for less than 6 months. We were still figuring out how to be married, let alone parents to 2 traumatized toddlers. But looking at my parents' exhausted faces, at Jasper and Luna playing innocently in the corner, I knew what I had to do. We'll take them, I said. Kieran and I will adopt them. Kieran nodded without hesitation. They're family. We'll figure it out. My parents cried with relief. The adoption process took another 6 months. Home studies, background checks, counseling sessions, mountains of paperwork. During that time, Jasper and Luna moved in with us permanently. It was chaos. Our little 2-bedroom apartment suddenly had toys everywhere, sippy cups in the sink, and cartoons playing constantly. Date nights became family movie nights. Sleep became a luxury. Our carefully planned life trajectory was completely derailed. But something unexpected happened. We adapted. Kieran turned out to be amazing with the kids, patient and playful in ways I didn't know he could be. I learned to function on less sleep and find joy in small moments. Jasper and Luna started calling us Aunt Yara and Uncle Kieran, then eventually just Yara and Kieran, and finally, about a year in, Mom and Dad. The first time Luna called me Mom, I cried for an hour. The adoption was finalized on what would have been our 2nd wedding anniversary. We celebrated by taking the kids to the zoo, and Kieran joked that this was definitely not how he'd envisioned our 2nd anniversary going. Is it what you wanted? I asked him that night after the kids were asleep. No, he said honestly, but it's what we got, and I wouldn't change it. Life settled into a new normal. We moved to a bigger house with a yard. I switched to part-time work so I could be more available for the kids. Kieran's parents, who lived nearby, became actively involved grandparents. Jasper started kindergarten and made friends easily. Luna went to preschool and discovered a love of painting. They went to therapy to process their abandonment trauma, and gradually they healed. We heard nothing from Bryn for 3 years. Then, out of nowhere, she sent a friend request on social media. I stared at her profile picture. She looked different, healthier maybe, smiling, living in another state, apparently working as a teacher's aide. I showed Kieran. What do you want to do? He asked. I thought about it for a long time. Then I declined the request and blocked her. A week later, she sent an email. I know you probably hate me, I understand, but I'm in a better place now, and I'd like to see Jasper and Luna. I'm their mother. I made a mistake, but I'm ready to be in their lives again. I called Octavia immediately. Can she do this? Can she just come back and demand access after abandoning them? She terminated her parental rights, Octavia said. Legally, she has no claim to them, but morally and emotionally this is complicated. You'll need to decide what's in the children's best interest. Kieran and I talked about it for days. We consulted the kids' therapist, Dr. Molina, who advised extreme caution. The children have finally achieved stability and security, Dr. Molina said. Reintroducing their biological mother could be re-traumatizing, especially if she's not truly prepared for a relationship with them. I responded to Bryn's email with brutal honesty. You didn't make a mistake. You made a choice. You abandoned your children at my wedding and disappeared for 3 years. Jasper and Luna are my children now, legally and in every way that matters. They're happy, healthy, and stable. I'm not going to disrupt that so you can ease your guilt. She responded with anger, called me controlling, vindictive, said I was keeping her children from her. She threatened legal action. Octavia shut that down quickly with a letter outlining Bryn's voluntary termination of parental rights and the finalized adoption. Your client has no legal standing whatsoever, the letter stated. Any further harassment will result in a restraining order. Bryn went quiet after that, but the damage was done. Her reappearance stirred up old trauma for everyone. My parents were upset, the kids started having nightmares again, and I was furious that she thought she could waltz back into their lives after everything. 6 months later, we heard she'd moved again, this time to the West Coast. My mom keeps tabs on her social media through a friend's account. Bryn posts about her new life, her new job, her new boyfriend. Never mentions the children she abandoned. Do you think she ever really wanted them? My mom asked me once. I don't know, Mom. I don't think she knew what she wanted except to escape. Today, Jasper and Luna are 7 years old. They're thriving in school, have friends, play soccer on weekends. They know their story, that they were born to Bryn, but that she couldn't take care of them, so we became their parents. We've been honest in age-appropriate ways. Sometimes Jasper asks about her. Do you think my birth mom thinks about us? I'm sure she does, I tell him, even though I'm not sure at all. Luna doesn't ask. She's the one who calls me Mom most naturally, who crawls into our bed during thunderstorms, who tells everyone at school that she has the best parents ever. Kieran and I never did get our honeymoon to Greece. We're planning to take the kids to Disney World next year instead. It's not what we imagined, but it's our life now. My wedding day will always have that shadow over it, the day my sister abandoned her children and upended everything. But it's also the day that led to us becoming parents to 2 incredible kids who needed us. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd said no, if I'd let them go into foster care or let my elderly parents struggle alone. But I can't imagine our life without Jasper and Luna now. They're ours in every way that matters. Bryn made her choice, and I made mine. So, here's my question for you. If a family member abandoned their children in your care during a major life event, would you step up to raise them permanently, or would you prioritize your own life plans and let someone else take responsibility?